What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably won't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. Today's video is done in partnership with Indie Horror Junkie, so be sure to go to indiehorrorjunkie.com to check out all of their offerings. Issue number 20 of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine is currently available. $5 for a downloadable PDF, $15 for a printable copy delivered straight to your door. Got Pitchfork Retreat on the cover this month. You can also check out the Indie Horror Junkie podcast every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. New people to talk to, new movies to go over, new stories to tell. And there's also the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival, which will be held at MegaCon in Orlando, Florida in March of 2026. Submissions are still open, but the deadline is steadily approaching. So if you have a horror short or horror feature film you'd like to see can get screened at the Indie Horror Junkie Film Festival, go to filmfreeway.com, look it up, or you can email submissions to indiehorrorjunkie@gmail.com. Let's dive into today's video coming out of Australia. Today we're going to be talking about Drop Bear.
I had a mate once. He claimed that he wrestled a drop bear with his bare hands. The fuck? A few days later we found him, half eaten, dangling from a gum tree.
This is the real Australia, right? Out here in the wild.
You're about to have the most batshit insane Aussie adventure of your life.
Funnel web spiders, death adders, there are so many, and I want to see them all.
Yeah! Who's ready to meet the dread? Drop bear!
Oh my god, no one thinks this is real.
That's what the bloody drop bear wants you to think. Got your back. Is that human?
Don't ask questions we don't want answers to.
This thing's still out there. It's still breathing. Those kids just kicked the hornet's nest.
You ran, but you ran home. Come at me, you furry fuck!
So Drop Bear was written, directed, and produced by John DeCo. It stars Connor Pullinger, Jessica Burgess, Adam Avadia, Lucas Andrews, and Cayman Hodge. If I said any of those names wrong, I apologize. Tells the story of a group of Americans who go on an expedition to the Australian outback to try and catch a glimpse of the elusive creature. And just so we're aware, Drop Bear is essentially Australian folklore. It's basically a carnivorous version of the koala. However, koalas are kind of creepy to begin with. They sound like diesel trucks and they carry chlamydia. Hey, is that a Cummins 12 valve? No, that's just Kevin the Koala with a Banks turbo kit. And yeah, they carry chlamydia. Try explaining that to the doctor. Doctor, I swear it's not what you think it is. I got it from a koala. So you f***ed a koala? Anyways, I digress. Drop Bear is Australian folklore for the carnivorous version of a koala, even though koalas are creepy. But the movie had its premiere in Australia on December 4th, so very recently. Not quite available on any streaming platform just yet here in America, but John DeCo wanted to send me a screener and get my thoughts on it, and I'm more than happy to do so. And now seems like a great time since, unfortunately, Australia is in the news for all of the wrong reasons right now. And the movie just had its premiere, so let's try and bring a little bit of happiness to the fold with this ridiculous film, and ridiculous in all of the good ways. From a fundamental standpoint, as I like to check off, it's got pretty good production quality. It's pretty well written, actually, as well. And we're going to go over a bit of that in a little bit. But camera quality, cinematography, editing, those three things are fine. Now, I did have a screener link, so I'm hoping that the audio was a little better for the actual premiere and moving forward. The biggest audio issue that I had with the film is that plainly it just wasn't loud enough. Even with my headphones turned all the way up and the computer turned all the way up, still wasn't loud enough. Now, I didn't miss anything, but it just was not loud. I tried watching it on my phone. It wasn't loud enough. I tried watching it on my computer. I tried watching it on the TV. And in any sense, the audio was just not loud enough. But again, I had a screener link, which could be a beta version, not the alpha version for all I know. So hopefully it wasn't the 100% complete version that I got to see, and they fixed some of those audio issues. Other than that, from a fundamental standpoint, I don't really have any complaints with this film. And as I said, it was pretty well written. It starts off with a pretty brief opening sequence that's a pretty standard horror setup. There's a group of people out in the outback, pretty much camping. Guy walks off into the dark to go to the bathroom, gets attacked by a drop bear, and we move on to essentially the actual plot of the film, where you meet the 4 Americans that have come on this expedition to try and catch a glimpse of the elusive creature and just spend some time in the outback. And they are escorted by a couple of survival specialists here in the outback, one of which is named Steve-O Irwin. So what was really interesting with the characters, the Americans and the 2 Australian survivalists, especially Steve-O, they're very much stereotypical caricatures, it almost seems like. The Americans, they're pretty, they're not all the same character, which was good. One's kind of a little bit of an adventurous. The one's a little bit of a jock. The one girl's a bit of a Miss Priss. The other one's in a relationship with Ollie, who's played by Connor Pullinger. It was Connor and Jessica Burgess, actually, was a couple. And that was Ollie and Emily was the character names. So the characters are all different, but they're all kind of caricatures of stereotypical characters. So it was almost like the stereotypes were almost how the Australians see Americans. And then on the flip side of that, Steve-O and his counterpart were almost like what we would think of as a stereotypical Australian from an American point of view. So it was kind of clever how they wrote those characters. And I really liked the character of Steve-O because it's Steve-O Irwin. So basically it's a caricature of Steve Irwin, but it was done very specifically because, let's face it, if anybody, my generation, we grew up with Steve Irwin. God bless the man. He was amazing. Very loving guy, very adamant about nature. But you also can't ignore the fact how energetic he was. And I don't want to say reckless because he knew what he was doing. But when you jump on the back of an alligator, it does seem reckless no matter how much of an expert you are. So in order to try and do a caricature of somebody as animated as Steve Irwin was, they basically took the Steve Irwin aspect and they had to make Steve-O pretty dumb, is basically the best way you could do it, because Steve Irwin was extremely intelligent, very knowledgeable in everything that he did. So you had to take what Steve Irwin was and made Steve-O pretty much a stupid version of what Steve Irwin was. So again, all characters were very well acted and very cleverly written. Now, I don't want to give too much away of the plot because things get pretty crazy. But for the first 45 minutes, it's pretty standard. There's a lot of world building. There's some very good relationship building between the characters. As I said, Ollie and Emily are a couple, and as is Jessica and Liam, who is played by Cayman Hodge and Adam Avadia. And if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry, man. So there's 2 couples, and there's some very good relationship building within that dynamic. And there's some very good world building as they go on this expedition. You know, Steve-O, as stupid as he is, he's playing himself off as very intelligent. So, you know, you'll see some things where, you know, him trying to set up a tent, or there was a part where, you know, Jessica was, you know, attacked by a snake, and he hid behind the other girl, but he's trying to play it off as, well, that's, you know, I'm repositioning myself for self-defense. And it was just kind of clever how all of those things went. In the first 45 minutes, there's a lot of that world building and character building where you start to care about certain characters and you don't care about certain characters. And all of that's leading to, I'm just going to call it the 45-minute mark where the movie has this kind of a little bit of a paradigm shift in what's going on, because there is some instances where you do get to see little glimpses of Drop Bear, and you get a little bit of story on the folklore of the Drop Bear, and it is not it is not what you think it's going to turn out to be. It's really not. If anybody's watched my videos, which you should, you'll know how much I like Graveyard Shark, and that was when I saw that and did the review on Graveyard Shark. I told you people, you are not prepared for Graveyard Shark, and you are not prepared for Drop Bear, because you get these, you find out what's going on, and it just gets loonier and loonier, and I mean that in the best way possible. I had such a good time watching this film. I want that to be clear. So that 45-minute mark, you start getting a little bit of backstory as to what these Drop Bears are. And there's just this, I don't want to give too much away, but there's very much a Graveyard Shark paradigm shift in this film. And it's a little bit of its own Australian folklore mixed with a little bit of Graveyard Shark, mixed with a little bit of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And it's just amazing how it came together. And even at that 45-minute mark, when you get into how crazy this story is, you're completely okay with it, because it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense at the same time. So I don't want to give too much away in regards to the plot for that. You guys just have to watch this film in order to just believe it. It's a fantastic time. The special effects, I like the special effects. So the special effects, I'm going to say, aren't great, but it adds to the B-movie charm of the film. And I feel like some of the special effects were done not great on purpose to try and add to that charm of the film. Like, this seems like a pretty well and intelligently written script. And I also feel like, as far as the behind the scenes stuff, I feel like they knew what they were doing. I didn't really talk to John a whole lot about any background information on what they were doing and how they went about doing it. And I don't have any budgetary idea of what they were doing. So I don't know if it was from a budget standpoint, but I feel like the special effects, while they're not bad, but they're not great. And I feel like they were made specifically to look a certain way to kind of add to the horror comedy B-movie charm that the movie has. So look, if you guys are into like B-movie creature features, this is a perfect one. If you guys have seen my review on Graveyard Shark, or if you've even gone on the B stream and watched Graveyard Shark, which I highly recommend, you're gonna love this film. I could watch Graveyard Shark and Drop Bear back to back, and it would just be 3 hours of just lunacy and having a blast watching great films that are entertaining as hell to watch. I think John did a great job putting this together. I think it was really well written. From my only negative connotation was the audio, and that could have just been the screener link that I had. That could have just been what I was dealing with. That doesn't mean if you order a Blu-ray or something like that, it doesn't mean you're going to have the same audio issue that I did. I think it was really more just, this wasn't the 100% complete version. I got like a version that was like 95% complete, and they were still kind of polishing it. But I did want to get the review out. I wanted to get the review out sooner because the premiere was in Australia on December 4th. But I've just been dealing with a lot of stuff personally, and I haven't been able to get around to doing reviews as much as I would like to. But it's still December, and I think now's a good time to try and... I know Australia's in the news right now for a lot of the wrong reasons, so let's just try and turn that around a little bit with a really fun, really fun horror comedy about some Australian folklore. Look, I even wore my Shane Van Gisbergen NASCAR shirt. If you're not familiar with SVG, he's a NASCAR driver now, but he is an Australian V8 supercar champion. I knew him from that. I love V8 supercars. Me personally, Mark Winterbottom was always my favorite V8 supercar driver, so I liked SVG before he was cool. Look, I even got a matching hat. So wanted to wear my Australian get up from my Australian people. John DeCo did a great job writing and directing this, and everybody did a great job acting in it. I had a lot of fun with this, and I think you guys will too. Like I said, if you're into B movies, if you're into horror comedy, if you're into creature features, this checks all the boxes. Look for it. I don't have any information, unfortunately, as far as any type of streaming services here in the U.S. The screener link that I got actually directed me to Molten TV, which I'm assuming is an Australian thing. So, but I think it's really cool that John reached out. You know, he's in Australia. I'm in Florida. You know, I would say Australia's definitely got the craziest creatures. And I've always been a huge fan of the platypus. I'm just saying that's my favorite animal. That thing makes no sense. That is a parts bin animal that God put together. When God was done putting everything else together, he was like, what do I got left laying around? And he threw a platypus together because that animal makes no sense. But I think it's really cool that John, you know, seeked me out. You know, like I said, Australia to Florida, you know, we've got some things in common as far as the wildlife. But I really appreciate him reaching out and sending me the link. John, I had a great time watching this film. I wish you guys the best of luck. And if you guys got anything else coming down the pipeline that is remotely close to this, please send it to me. I would love to see it. This was an amazing time. So keep your eyes out for Drop Bear. If I get any information on where it might be streaming here in the U.S. or where you guys might be able to catch it, I'll be sure to put it in the comments below. But keep your eyes out for it. Drop Bear 2026 coming out of Australia. It's going to be a damn good time to sit down and watch. Like, subscribe, and comment on my YouTube channel. Check me out on Instagram and Facebook. I'll see everybody in the next one.